Aries, Sun, Moon and Rising, welcome back. Your tarot reading for Gemini season, or whenever you're watching this video, it still may very well apply. The question to be asking here is, are you facing up to truths that you don't necessarily want to look at? Interestingly enough, we have 4 of the cards that are very watery. 3 of them being cups, and then we have the moon in here as well. Water in a fire sign isn't always a great mix. Quelle surprise. Interesting that it's happening in Gemini season because Gemini is all about duality. Obviously, it's represented by the twins, polarity, but also flexibility and adaptability. But new experiences coming through as well. There's a real feeling here of things being stirred up. You questioning quite a lot, very, very much attached to the emotional level. Quite surprising, as Gemini is an air sign, so it's usually quite intellectual. It's intellectual stimulation, communication, mental agility and adaptability, but these themes don't necessarily seem to sit here too well. It's much more of an internal stirring up. I don't think that's a bad thing by any means. Well, I would argue that nothing in life is inherently bad. These are lessons. These are things for us to observe and understand. One of the important things that you don't get caught up into, Aries, is navel gazing, is to get kind of too caught up in your internal world that it stops you, well, keeping a sense of lightness, keeping a sense of play, keeping a sense of enjoyment too. Because we have this combination of the Queen of Cups and the Moon. Queen of Cups is typically the energy that is slightly introvert. It's about going in. She has the most elaborate cup from the entire tarot deck. And that represents the richness of her emotional realm. By the way, I've also just discovered putting tea bags in cold water. Delicious. But it is about her going inwards, understanding her emotional realm, reflection, introspection, all of those themes that I've been speaking about. However, when this comes out of balance, particularly as expressed with the moon, which I'll talk about in a moment, it's like we're going down a plug hole. It's almost that we're being too drawn in and that we're going almost too deep. There is a fine line sometimes between reflection, integration, understanding, and stillness, having that stillness to connect with our heart and connect with what's going on with our emotional realm. But that becomes unhelpful when it turns into navel gazing, particularly when we are ruminating either on the past or things that we are predicting. The moon card is the card of the unknown, and the unknown often elicits fear within us. Sometimes the moon is much about the journey and the excitement, just as I was speaking about before with Gemini being the season of new experiences and new beginnings. So it is an exciting time. I do feel that when we don't know what's around the corner, that can be slightly unnerving. And there's a big theme here, Aries, of ensuring that you don't give in to worry. That's a really nice way to summarize a lot of this. Don't give in to worry. Because what we assume is emotional maturity and reflection and inquisitiveness and exploration, internal exploration, can actually then just sometimes become self-indulgent, or that we start to take things far too seriously. There seems to be a touch of a mismatch between Gemini season and the sign of Aries. I don't mind that, as much as this may sound, I don't know if I want that at all. I feel that it will kind of the way I describe it is if we've got a jar with silt or mud or sand in it, and if you shake that up, it all comes swirling around. It becomes upset, and it takes a little while for that all to settle down again. And sometimes that process of stirring things up helps us see what's at the bottom, helps us recognize what is perhaps a limiting belief or an unhelpful approach, or what is actually just a narrative of our minds. Oh, actually, this is just me either dramatizing things, not that Aries would do that, or that it's, oh, I expected, my fears said that it might land this way, but actually it's absolutely fine. The moon represents the dog and the wolf baying at the moon, and they're scared of something that they don't understand. Although the moon is completely innocuous, it's just a rock in the sky. But to those that are perhaps under the gaze of illusion, we sometimes think, oh, we blow things out of proportion, so to speak. So it's going to be a bit of a balancing act, as I mentioned, between looking at your internal world, but ensuring that that doesn't become not necessarily escapism. I don't quite know what the word is I want to find. Again, it's not indulgent. It's like loving your Tarotscope so far? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so that you never miss a reading. Drop your favourite emoji or share your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing from you. And check out the pinned comment below to find your rising and moon signs for a full 360 view of your season ahead. You'll also find a quick link to sign up for email alerts so you're always in the loop when a new Tarotscope drops. Now let's get back to your reading. That it doesn't become an inhibitor, that it doesn't stop us doing what we need to be moving on through. Now, that's the kind of quote-unquote difficulties, the challenges of Gemini season. As I mentioned, this all looks great. What I would say is the great stuff, thankfully we're getting there, is represented with the Two of Cups and the King of Cups. So we're still in that suit of cups. As I mentioned, this is all about water, and water is the element of emotion, spirituality. They are in flux. It is fluid, hence why it's the emotional realm. They're not a rigid or fixed thing. They come and go in the ebbs and flows. And that's quite a good attitude to cultivate this month. It will ensure that you're not taking things too seriously. Just think, if things are at a low ebb, it's fine, they'll soon come up. If they're at a high ebb, enjoy them while they last. The Two of Cups is perfect. It almost has the sign, well, it has the sign of Gemini right at the top there, that sense of duality that I spoke about before. And although the Two of Cups is Cancer in Venus in Cancer, it does have this very Gemini energy with that duality. And one of the upshots of Gemini season is there is a sociability to it. There is an excitement to it. There's an upliftedness to it. Therefore, there's a really strong piece of advice here. Go out and socialize. Enjoy the company of others. Get things off your chest. Share yourself willingly. There is a call for you this month, Aries. Sorry. There's a call for you this month, Aries, to come back. What was I saying? To be quite vulnerable, actually. And vulnerability perhaps isn't the... Unsurprisingly, it makes you feel unsafe. But if there are things on your mind, if there are things playing on your mind, or you have concerns, or you have worries, go and express those, share those with friends, and maybe even a counselor. Now, that might be in the literal sense of a talking therapist, but that may be just somebody that you feel can really support you in a spiritual and emotional way. Somebody that you trust their opinion, you trust what they have to say to you. that they've got your best interests at heart, but they're also slightly unattached. So this might not be a parent, this might not be a best friend, because they sometimes have run to the danger of telling us what we want to hear, or they can't quite necessarily be as honest as we perhaps need them to be. So somebody that is impartial is quite important here. Just to reiterate, I feel that it's important that I state this again. If you're feeling these internal wobbles, again expressed with the 5 of Wands here, and I'll talk about the 5 of Wands. Interestingly enough, it's the only fire sign that you have. But if you're feeling these internal wobbles and worries, express them, share them. Pull a friend aside and say, do you mind if I just kind of offload here a little bit? Or I really need your opinion on something. Or am I just getting in my head about this, but this is what's going on? Really lean into that. It's essential, essential, essential. A problem shared is a problem halved, as we well know. Finally, we have the 5 of Wands. It's the Lord of Conflict. Is it? Lord of Strife. Lord of Strife. Similar. 5, as we well know, is the number of chaos or instability. But again, it's like, oh gosh, what does that mean? I always say that this is, if I had to summarize this, I spoke a little bit before. I've said a really good sentence beforehand, but I've forgotten it. If I had to summarize this, it's like things are going to get stirred up. You're going to feel a little bit unsure at times. There are some truths you're going to have to look at. There are some kind of emotional tensions here that will need to be resolved, but out of which there really feels to be born clarity. I would be surprised if you don't leave Gemini season with a sense of relief, actually, and a sense of, okay, everything's in order. Sometimes we need, this is why I like the number 5, sometimes we need to shake things up in order to let the dust settle again in a new way that is more conducive to the future that we want. Otherwise, things get very stagnant and stuck, and we restrict ourselves to our safety zone, and that's not always useful. Particularly as an Aries sign, you're all about pushing forward and going outside of your comfort zone. But it's interesting because normally that would be done in a very external, outer world way. But here you're being invited to do that on a very internal way. An interesting time afoot. Now, if you want to know more about the tarot, go and check out my other videos. I'm going through each of the tarot cards in sequence. I've released a good bulk of the major arcana, and I'll be releasing those every week. So go and check out the video library if you're interested in understanding my approach to the tarot. But until next time, have a wonderful, wonderful Gemini season, and I shall see you then. Bye for now.